Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Joe Emilio Show. I'm your host, Joe Emilio, and I know my schedule has been messed up. Thank the ANC for that. Thank you to load shedding. I can't help it. Everything's all over. I had a show this morning, which I don't normally do, with Barry Hilton. So if you haven't seen that, please go check it out. The shows are only an hour at the moment. This show will also be only an hour because my guest is with me at the moment. But before I bring it on, don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, to like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. And we got a very interesting conversation to have tonight. I've been looking everywhere for someone who's well versed in the topic of, well, the colored people in South Africa. I've always been interested by them. I love the colored people. I love performing in front of the colored people. I've always enjoyed their culture, and I've always wanted to know more about them. And this lovely lady is on TikTok. By the way, there's a link in her in the description to her TikTok. Please give her a follow. And she's gonna. Well, we're just gonna talk about the colored people and the Koisan as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome the lovely Charné Kreeling.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks, Joe, for having me on your show.
Well, thank you once again. I'll say it again. I'm so sorry because we were supposed to have the show like weeks ago.
I know.
And we had to keep on postponing because of load shedding. But anyway, it is what it is. And Charné, just very quickly, I would like to give you the opportunity to just introduce yourself and, explain why you have such an interest in the Khoisan people of South Africa.
Okay, so I'm Charné Kreeling. I go by the Twitter handle Shanzi, and my TikTok handle is Shanzi. I am a direct descendant of Adam Koch the second, who is of Adam Koch the first, so that's my bloodline. I am from the Griqua Royal Council of the Eastern Cape, and my dad is the paramount chief, so that is the interest that I have. My special focus is on human rights advocacy, as well as highlighting social justice issues and social economic issues of the Koisan people.
Okay, cool. So you are a direct descendant from the
Yeah.
Khoisan. Okay, fantastic. Just the person I need on my show. I'm just noticing now people are saying 7 p.m. Sorry, guys, I didn't change. I didn't change the time in the stream. I noticed it 10 minutes or 15 minutes before we were going live, and I quickly changed it to 9. I'm so sorry, guys. I thought I did. My bad. But we're here now, so go easy on me.
Tough crowd.
Yeah. Yeah, people watch the show, they want you to be on time. But it's my fault. My fault. And yeah, guys, by the way, if you have any questions for Charné, please feel free to ask anything about the Khoisan. My first question to you, Charné, is I know very little about the Khoisan. I met I think he says he's a king. I've been told he's not a king. I don't know what to believe. But in my research, he seems to be a king. But I met the king that's right now in front of the Union buildings. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. Are you related to him or a different? Just clarify exactly who you're related to.
Okay, so there are a few different tribes in the Khoisan community. So
Okay.
I'm Griqua, meaning we are from a very mixed race of people. So we were mixed from the very beginning. So if you look from where our people left the castle, and they trekked right up into where they were in Kriquastad and in Kokstad. They were a group of freed slaves. So Adam Koch was the first freed slave that bought his freedom. And then he established himself at Marmary side up in the west coast, and then they moved up into the interior.
Okay.
But I'm not particularly related to him. He is from a different tribe. With regards to kingship, for me, that is a strange concept because throughout the history of the Khoisan people, we've had only a form of leadership in terms of chieftaincy or captains and paramount chiefs. So when I say that I'm from Adam Cox III, he is the last paramount chief of the Griqua people.
I see. All right. Well, also let me clarify. I referred to him as a king, but I
No, we
do
all do.
remember.
It's fine.
I remember he the Khoisan in front of the Union building said he's a chief. So Let me ask you, because I think you would know, is he legitimate? Because I think that's something I've been wanting to clarify. And I don't mean to denounce him or to question, but like like I said, people have been telling me, no, Joe, he's not. It's like a thing. It's I don't know what, and other people are like, no, he's real. And I'm just you're someone who I think would know.
Um, in our community, it is definitely something, a bone of contention between everybody, because there is the dichotomy: is he legitimate, is he not legitimate? Because in order for him to be king, all the tribes and everybody needs to have had a ceremony or some sort of recognition to put him in place. And there has been a lot of people that have come up now recently and said they are kings and queens, but we try to stick to the traditional leaders that are either paramount chiefs or chiefs that have come a long way. We respect him in his title, but yes, there is that. We have a bit of issues regarding his legitimacy.
All right, cool. So it's still a little bit unclear, but I mean, I wish him the best of luck because he's been in front of the union buildings
Yes.
years now, and you know what? Regardless if he is a chief or not, or a king or not, he's still fighting for something that's very important in the Koisan
Yes.
community, which is being recognized. And I'm fully 100% behind that. But perhaps because you talk about that as well on your TikToks as well. So perhaps you can let people know what your community is trying to do and why this man is also in front of the union building. I mean, the message is all the same, really.
Yeah. Okay. So although we don't recognize him as our king, we do share a common goal. So regardless of that, we're putting that aside and we're saying, look, these are the things that we need to address with government. We need them to implement what they promised in terms of our recognition as the indigenous people of South Africa, to have our languages implemented into school or made them official. I mean, our children have been, and we have been exposed to only Eurocentric education. So with that being said, we've lost our history, we've lost our heritage. We only practice our traditions here and there. It's we honestly feel like we've been robbed. So we definitely respect him and the work that he's done. And I think that anybody in the Khoisan community is definitely fully supporting him in his mission.
Okay, and I think a follow up question on that is he also wants to, because I hear that or at least this is what he told me, Khoisan itself, the term Khoisan, the community of Khoisan, isn't also recognized.
Yes.
That you are as a people are not recognized in by law, which is shocking, because there's so many other tribes that are recognized and so many other peoples in South Africa that are recognized. How did we get there?
We've always been like the little lamp that's been hidden under the bush. They've never really spoken about us. In fact, I think it stems from the fact that during apartheid, there was always the color law classification that has shrouded a lot of the history because the focus was on that. And I think most of the times, like what happened is people have been just fighting for liberation, and then now we're fighting this. But we have honestly now figured out that we cannot continue like this because our languages are dying out. There are only like a few elders that we can go to now to actually learn the language and to get our practices and our traditions. And even the documentation of history of us back then was extremely poor. Our history was blackwashed, then whitewashed. Even 1652, it's a lot of cover-ups, and there's a lot of controversy regarding fact.
Yeah, I've heard some of the controversy myself, and perhaps you can clarify some of the history to us. So, if you don't mind, in brief but not brief way, just explain where the Khoisan come from, as far as you understand it.
Okay, so the Khoisan people are the descendants of Noah's son Ham. So when they say the Kham people, that is who they are speaking of. So we are the original inhabitants of Southern Africa. So we've been here, I think, for probably thousands of years. And that you'll see that by the rock art that is scattered around the Western Cape, within the interior of South Africa, and I think parts of South I think Central and Western Africa.
All right. So I've
People
seen.
believe that we actually migrated from, I think, from Yoruba.
Okay.
Mm.
Well, I went to Otsoron not too long ago over the December holidays, and I saw the Congo Caves, I think it's called. And there was, they spoke about the Koisan. They use these caves to live, and there was rock paintings and all that stuff. So, it's interesting and fascinating to me that a group of people that have literally been here since day one are being ignored. Which is, yeah, it reminds me a lot because I don't know if you know, but I was born in the States. I live in South Africa now, and I'm American South African. And it reminds me a lot. The Khoisan people do remind me a lot of the Native Americans as well,
Yeah.
because they're also, in a way, forgotten, and kind of like the government over there is just like, okay, just exist over there, which is horrible to say, but it's the truth. And now I also hear this confusion between Khoisan and colored people, which is something I also wanted to discuss with you. Like some people say the Khoisan are colored, and other people say the colored are not Khoisan. Can you clarify that discussion?
Okay, so just to clarify, colored people are Khoisan people, and it's we don't really like the term Khoisan. We rather would like to say that we are indigenous people because of the fact that we have been colonized, and therefore there is very few people that are really, really Khoisan, but we've been mixed throughout the years. But we have bloodlines and ancestry and lineage to Khoisan tribes or relatives. So when it comes to being colored, colored is color law. It's classification. It has got no tie to any heritage, any language, or any identity. That is just a group that the government had given us. So when people say colored, I think it's because they don't really want to associate with being Khoisan for whatever reasons that they have. But according to the Khoisan people, if you are identifying with that, that is who you are.
Yeah, I think where the confusion comes in, and I think this is where some of the discussions I've had with some people gets a bit murky, is what if you look at someone like Trevor Noah, who's considered colored in South Africa, but his father was, I think, it was black, and his mother was or Swiss, and his mother was black. So which there's no heritage of Khoisan, but he's still considered colored.
But they would be Griqua because the Griqua are mixed people. So for most of our family lineage, we've been mixed. So we are called Griqua.
I see. Okay.
Okay, so the interracial marriages formed the Griqua people. So like there would be Oorlams and maybe Dutch people that were together or whatever. They formed the Griqua people.
Okay. And the Griqua people are not necessarily Khoisan.
We have Khoisan lineage, meaning we have some people that are Khoisan or some people that are not, but we are still recognized as Khoisan.
Okay. All right. Sorry, it gets a little bit confusing. I'm just trying to understand.
I know.
All right. So, very important thing as well. You said there's. I watched one or two bits from your TikTok page specifically regarding the dark side of the Khoisan history. Do you maybe want to touch a bit on that for our audience? You don't have to go into complete detail, but I think that is an important little series that you're doing. So just tell people about that.
Okay, so currently I'm working on a series of the forgotten genocide. So this is the genocide even before the Jewish Holocaust. So back then it was in Namibia. There was the Nama people, which are descendants of my family as well. So I'm Griqua and Nama, and then there's the Maharero people. So the Germans took over and they basically gave an extermination order. So they were classified as vermin, and if they would be shot dead on sight. And basically, also the term Koisan is given to us by Leonard Schulze, which is a German zoologist. And that zoologist was in Namibia, and he had performed experiments on people. If you want to look it up, it's called Shark Island. So they exterminated half of the Nama people and a very large portion of the Maharero people. So this is what we're talking about. At the moment, the Namibian brothers of ours are trying to negotiate with the German government to recognize that they need to not only just apologize, they need to pay reparations and hold to their agreement. So yes, it's a very dark side to it. Government does romanticize the story because Thabo Mbeki had a meeting with some Khoi leaders, and he gave a very beautiful picture to a very dark side. There was no mention of the fact that there were concentration camps in Namibia and that men and children were shot on sight.
Yeah, it seems to be a common trait of the ANC to try and twist and almost erase what actually happened in history. It's not the first time they've done or said stuff like that, which, I mean, if we don't learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it, right? That's basically how it works. All right, so this is all really interesting. So I really encourage, once again, people go check out Charné on TikTok. If you don't have TikTok, I didn't know you had Twitter. So, but
I think I just started it today. I need to try and diversify.
Okay. Well, then there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Try and find Charné. What's your Twitter handle again?
No, my TikTok handle is Shanzi. I think that's the easiest for now.
There we go. Shanzi on Twitter as well. But yeah, give her some love, show her some follow. I just want to get to some of the comments that we have coming in. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, to ask questions at any time, and we'll try and answer them. And G Sawyer, who's a watcher of mine, says, currently the Koisan does not have First Nation status, which have further implications to land issue. We are aware of that. Home of Justice Advocates says this is the propaganda of the British government, who hand over our heritage to the people who migrated from West Africa, who is claiming that they are the owners of South Africa. Is this? I'm not sure what they're referencing in that comment. And then G Sawyer saying, colored people are community of people mixed over several generations. Trevor Noah is not colored. Okay. Yeah. Now a lot of people like Trevor Noah on my channel. And then Home of Justice says, I'm here in the UK, but I'm not forgetting my history and culture. My father was born in Namibia. My mother is Koisan, and my father is Igbo from Southeast Nigeria. Okay. That's interesting. And thank you so much, all of you, for tuning in and watching. Like I said, if you guys have any questions about the Koisan, then please do drop it in the live chats. Speaking of which, Koisan, we discussed that was a term given by technically Europeans. How do you guys feel? Like, if you were to, get that recognition, you would obviously want to change the term Koisan, right? What would you change it to?
I don't know. Probably we'd probably have to have a meeting about that one. I mean, it's been years since we've ever had an identity. I mean, when you go through the slave documents, it's so difficult to see that people could not even hold an identity. It's so strange. Yeah. It's wild. I mean, for us, it's difficult to have an identity and to change society if you don't even know who you are and where you come from. So this is almost as if we are literally living a historical social experiment where day by day we're uncovering who we are. So Koi is actually Kwe, and then it's Koisan. So we don't know how it's going to materialize and what are we going to give recognition and put more emphasis and acknowledgement to. So it's what a time to be alive.
So if I understand you correctly, even for someone such as yourself who's so, interested in the topic and does a lot of research, it's even difficult for someone like yourself to find out the history, basically. The documents obviously lost, things covered up, probably, like you mentioned as well. It's am I understanding this correctly? It's actually not easy for anyone to just go and find out where exactly Koisan came from, or, well, we know where they came from, but I mean the history, basically.
Yes, it's extremely difficult. The colonizers did not make it easy. A lot of the stuff I've pieced together from the writings of the Maharero people who are in Namibia. Their chief had been extremely diligent in documenting events and history. So it was easy for me to at least put a few things together and just draw a few parallels, because their plight, and although we are the same tribe and they in Namibia and we here, there were so many similarities. And even when you look at First Nations in other parts of the world, like the Indians in the Red Indians in America, as well as in the Aboriginals, there are similarities to the way they treated us. And it's so difficult to, even a simple thing as trying to figure out your bloodline up until probably like the 1900s, it becomes so blurred after a while, because people had changed their names during the apartheid era, and from there you don't know who went where. And also with like the Group Areas Act and displacement, I think it's been the most frustrating part for colored people, and I think that's why they cling to the term colored, because they're not sure how to map their way forward. What helped me a lot is the Camisa Museum. They've got a fantastic facility on the website that assists you to at least track your lineage to as far as what you know, and you can piece together your family tree.
Oh, that's awesome. I think it's very important for people to know, their heritage and where they come from. It helps to understand a lot of things about themselves, and it does frustrate me. I maybe I don't mention it enough on the channel, but I was with Heinrich Vanguard. I don't know if you know him. He's a TV personality, and he's now the CEO of the new Cape Forum, which has vowed to take care of colored communities and also fight for federalism in the Western Cape, as one of the things they're busy with. But I had a nice chat with him at the launch of this event, and he was also saying the same things that you are now, how the colored people have been forgotten, the Koisan have been forgotten. It just feels like throughout history, the colored people in the Koisan, and especially the Koisan, both governments have just completely forgotten these people. It's almost like throughout history, these people were like toddlers to them, and like, okay, just stay there, and we'll deal with you later. We promise you this, we promise you that, but it all turned out to be lies. Is that a correct assessment of how history has treated the community?
Yes. And lately, the new thing is we are being gaslit for standing up. It's almost as if, look, you've got freedom now. What are you not happy about? Why are you asking for more? And they don't understand it. Like you said, to know where you come from and to know who you are gives you a different level of self-confidence and self-awareness. Without them recognizing who we are and placing us just at the table, we are not asking to take the entire table, just give us a seat at the table, because we've had no voice politically. So we come from being colonized to slavery, then we've come through the apartheid era, now to politically being silenced. There are so many laws that are made daily that directly affect the colored community. For example, the one with the backyard dwellers. I mean, majority of the colored community have been displaced for years from their land and homes and the Group Areas Act. So they are forced to live in a temporary shelter or a small dwelling in someone's yard. And now that has become illegal. So people like us that would be in that situation or be able to at least have a voice politically would say, look, this directly affects our people. We have not been given adequate housing or anything for that matter. I mean, we've had many people in our community that died before they even received their RDP houses.
Yeah, that's, Charné, that's a very sensitive topic to talk about. I mean, I've met some of the backyard dwellers when I've been at some of these protests, and my heart goes out to them because I've actually been invited with I don't know if you know Big Daddy Liberty, but we were
Yes.
doing, yeah. So he and I went to Mitchell's Plain, and we actually saw one of these dwellings where it was a house, a small house though. It wasn't a big, 4 or 5 bedroom house. This is like a really small house, cottage almost, with a really small backyard and front yard, and there were over 40 people living in this little tiny place. It was heartbreaking, absolutely gut wrenching, heartbreaking, and that's when one of the things why I always say the government, the existing government, even the DA that runs the Western Cape, all have done the colored people a huge disservice. And I think this is going to lead to my next question: is what can we do? What can we? I mean, you say you're being gaslit, which is horrible. I encourage people like you to don't be shut up. And I've seen you skull a few people on your TikTok, which I love. Um, but I mean, besides that, besides making videos, besides putting people in their place, what else can we do? What is there an organization people can support? What can we do?
For now, assist us in raising awareness, engage with our content, um, just be present. Because at the moment, it is so difficult for us to even establish ourselves because we in the process of uniting as a people.
Mm.
And it's so difficult. It's like trying to unite 11 million people and get them all onto one page. So
Yeah.
at the moment, we are still battling through quite a few things, but definitely assist us in raising awareness, sharing our content, engaging with us, and even asking questions. I mean, the more people ask questions and the more we are able to answer and have at least a conversation, that is progressive enough for where we are at the moment.
Mm.
With the story with Amazon, it was amazing to see how many people actually clicked on and went and signed the petition and actually engaged with the content that we put out there and with the struggle that we have. So at the moment, there are quite a few groups. I will send you the information so you can put it down in the description box of youth exchanges and youth groups that are in small ways making a difference. We don't obviously have a lot of resources at our disposal at the moment, but we use what we have. If we've got our voices, that's what we're going to use.
Mm. Yeah, you mentioned the Amazon case, which I briefly read about. So you want to tell people what happened there? Because I don't think a lot of people know what happened there.
Oh, that was sad. I was that touched me.
Mm.
So Black River is actually known as the place of the stars. So that is where the last Koisan kraal was. That is where we fought our battles with the Portuguese and with the Dutch. So that land has a lot of sentimental value for us. And for me, the most disgusting part was the fact that how can big corporates decide what should be sacred to indigenous people? I mean, we've got so many articles like the United Nations Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People, as well as the ILO that protects indigenous people as well as the indigenous land where we have sacred rights to and where we've got heritage. So that case was it was very touching because we had to literally stick together as a people and say, look, we're going to stand our ground here. I mean, we don't have the wealth or the influence as the property developers or Amazon, but we have to save what we've got for our future generations. I mean, we cannot let go of absolutely everything.
Mm. And I believe you guys won, correct?
Yes, we did.
Yes. Which, yeah, I mean, that one was also a very interesting story in terms of like, I think there was a bit of, I wouldn't say backlash, but there were some people who were like, why all of a sudden now? And I guess it was kind of the gaslighting. Are the Khoisan
But
people
all
or
statutes have limitations to claiming your heritage.
yeah, but that's the thing, right? And I think like I mean at the end of the day, if the court looked at it and said, you know what, the Khoisan people have a point here, then there you go. Like, I mean, there's not much more to say to it.
There's not much
Um,
more to say.
and speaking about the Khoisan people, and I have one more. Well, I have a question that just came up now. Where you don't have to be specific with this, and I'm gonna get to a point. Just bear with me. Where do you stay? You can just say the province. You don't have to give me like an address.
Western Cape.
Okay, so you stay in the Western Cape. Okay, great.
Yes.
So would you say that the Western Cape has the biggest influence of the Khoisan culture, or has it spread out into the rest of like Northern Africa, like up South Africa and further?
We are everywhere.
I
We are
like how you said
literally
that.
everywhere. There is no hub. Where you go, we are there. I was amazed when I was traveling through the KwaZulu-Natal to see how many of us are in Coxted, and we literally everywhere. It's beautiful.
No, it is. It is great. I, okay, so I think if there's I'm looking at the comments now, and I don't see anybody giving any questions, but there have been some. Well, I don't know if this is a question. Let me read this to you. So, unfortunately, I can't read the name. Muluri says maybe you could form a new identity with a new name, incorporating what's known from the past. This is just my opinion. What do you have to say to that?
Now that's nice. That's a good suggestion.
And
Better
then,
than taking the current one that we've got.
yeah, why not?
Why not?
And then I think Home of Justice Advocate saying, wow, wow, this is beautiful. Well done for my people. I think this is in reference to the Amazon
Yeah,
case. And also saying, yes, we are everywhere, even in Johannesburg. And we got some more people coming in. Jesse, good to see you again, Jesse. Yeah, so I think you've given me a lot to think about, and you have clarified some of the history of the Khoisan. I think the history is just basically you guys were here first. I mean, there's no arguing that. There's evidence you can find all over South Africa and especially in the Western Cape. And you've just been forgotten by the government throughout the years, mistreated, and now your people are finally trying to basically own your identity and get recognition for who and what you are. Can you perhaps enlighten us? And do you know the Khoisan language? I don't know what the correct term is.
I'm trying to learn.
Okay. Is
Um,
there?
it, it's complex. Well, okay, so those of you who know how to speak Xhosa, right? Xhosa has 3 clicks.
Yeah.
When you speak Khoisan languages, it is like Kukukwab has 5 clicks.
Wow. Okay.
So yes, so at the moment we've got a huge drive where we are, where there are a lot of people from Namibia that are teaching us how to speak the language, but there are so many different dialects, but it's so nice. It's something new. It feels like home because the clicks are very similar, but some of them are really hard. And it's been amazing. It's been an amazing journey for us as a people where social media has literally brought us together. I mean, I've spoken to people in Namibia that without social media, I don't think I would have ever been in touch with. So, yeah, I now have to say hello at least in
Well, say it.
Kai says
Kaises.
yes.
All right, cool. That's awesome. Look, I really do hope that the Khoisan people do eventually get recognized in every meaning of the word and get what they actually want, because I do believe, especially when I spoke to that chief and when I speak to other people who know about this issue, it's not nice to live your life like this where everybody else is recognized, everybody else has a voice, and you have a voice, but it's like it's ignored.
You're
And
in the closet.
yeah, it's such a weird thing, and and again, not learning from history. Like the Americans did the same to the Native Americans. You mentioned the Aborigines in Australia, and to today, some of these tribes and peoples are fighting for recognition. I think the
Aboriginal.
that thank you. I think recently only got recognized by Australia. I could be wrong, but I do remember something like that to that effect.
Yeah, everything is fairly recent
Yeah,
in the indigenous world, but the First Nations are really, we've been through quite a bit.
yeah.
I mean, it's been years of trying to hold on to a culture and a heritage. Despite Westernism taking over, a lot of people expect me to be dressed in Koisan attire, and I'm like, no.
Well, I think
My ancestors didn't even wear that back then. They were wearing normal clothing. Thank you. I will gladly wear it at a traditional function, by all means,
yeah.
but I don't think that should be a prerequisite for when I engage with people.
No, it's always amazing to me that people think that like yes, I think like you just said, in a traditional setting, of course, you respect your culture, you wear what you need to wear, but you don't have to wear that every day. It's not a thing. I do have a question from Jesse. It's a very interesting one. We lost our voice when we became the Republic of South Africa in 1910. What does Charné think about secession?
So actually, I don't think we ever had a voice. I think if we were ever able to represent ourselves, the landscape in South Africa would be very different. As Khoisan people, our nature is to be extremely kind, loving, and we inclusive of everybody. If we look at the hierarchy that we had in terms of how the chiefs dealt with their people, there wasn't like a strict span of like control. So there was always this elasticity between the leaders and the people. So there were the elders, but there was elasticity between the people. They've each had their own way. So I think that if going forward, having Khoisan people on any platform or any form of control, there would be at least that elasticity where we are able to relate to one another. And I think sometimes it also becomes a problem for us because we are so accommodating to somebody else that we don't really take decisive steps or measures. So and I think that's kind of been the problem the whole time, that as a people we are so considerate of somebody else that we haven't taken up our fight or given pressure. But because now we're at such a critical point that we are losing our languages, there are like five or few people that are actually speaking the proper dialect. We are we are facing extinction as a people. But for the way forward, I definitely think that the new breed, like the younger generation, we are definitely going to be changing the way people see us. It's almost as if being Khoisan is now going through like a rebrand, as you would say.
No, that's awesome. But what do you think about secession, though?
In what way?
Well, basically, Western Cape independence. What's your opinion on it?
I think that's going to be a dicey one. I really, I think it's going to, I don't even want to touch that topic. The reason being, it does have a lot of issues with regards to how the land and everything is going to, how that issues are going to be addressed. Most of the atrocities and hate crimes for the Khoisan people took place in the Western Cape. So if the Western Cape separates, how are they going to separate? Does it separate with us having a voice, or does it separate with the politicians and everybody still continuing to do what they do? Because then then that is not being progressive at all. We're actually just making a level move.
And that's a fair concern. I think it would be a fair concern. Look, I'm an advocate for Cape independence. I'm not going to shy away from that. But what I do know, and from speaking to people in that movement, is once Western Cape secedes, there is a process. And this is a very touchy thing to say. So I'm going to just say it how it is because it's a fact. If Western Cape was to become its own country, the majority would then be the colored people. It's a fact because the colored people are the majority in the Western Cape. So automatically, no matter what government, no matter what happens, you guys, Koisan colored, would be the majority. You'd have power in that regard. But there's also going to be a re-election. There's going to be a whole change and all that stuff. I don't believe for a second, no matter what happens, that the colored people or the Khoisan people would be neglected if the Western Cape was to secede. I actually think it would be more beneficial for that community if secession was to happen. And there's a lot of, at the moment, there's a lot of, at the last march in Cape Town, there was someone who represented, okay, I use that word very loosely because even he said he doesn't necessarily represent the Khoisan people, but he will spread the message that he experienced at the march to fellow Khoisan people. And there's colored people that are getting on board. There's black people getting on board. There's a whole range of, you know, the Western Cape. It's a very diverse section of South Africa, and nearly everyone is getting on board with it. And yeah, I know it sounds like I'm advocating to convince you, but I'm just saying that you have
I
a
sit on
very,
the fence with that one. I
yeah.
just shy away from those kind of topics because that's like my personal beliefs.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You're allowed to have them. That's okay. I have nothing against that. And you know what? I would err on the side of caution if I was you too. You know, being from a community that has been forgotten by two other governments. Now we're talking about maybe a third new government. I don't blame you at all. It's the same reason why South Africans in general are scared what happens if the ANC is out of power. Who's next, and are they going to be just as terrible as the ANC was? You know what I mean? It's the same
Yes.
kind of concept. So I 100% understand where you're coming from. I think my message to you would be just, you know, do the research, and you're good at researching. So yeah, and have an open mind. From Jesse as well, he follows up with this question for you. Is there a difference between Khoi and San?
Yes. There's a distinct difference. The one group are gatherers and the others are hunter-gatherers. So some of us are vegan and vegetarian and other of us consume meat.
Okay.
So we've got different practices and even our religions are different. So there are two very distinct different groups, but we all form part of the same family. So it's just like different children in a house.
And which one is which? Like, is the Khoi the gatherers, or?
So you've got the Khoi, which are the hunter-gatherers, and then there's the San. But the San, they are on their own, and then the Khoi have also like a few, but all of them have very many subgroups. So it's very difficult to explain how everyone fits in where because there are so many groups, and every day I'm discovering the new, yeah.
And okay, so this is also interesting to me because you called Koisan, because when people say, "Oh, do you know about the Koisan?" it sounds like it's like a one word thing to describe a group of people.
Yeah, but it's actually Khoi and San people.
Okay, all right. I did not know that, so I'm learning something. So is using the term Koisan incorrect then? It is.
It's accepted.
It's accepted. Okay. All right.
It's accepted. For now, we're going with it until we are able to change things, but it's accepted. Koisan is actually derogatory to a lot of people because of the history of the name and how we got it. But because that is how we are being referred to in legal documents, and that's kind of what we have to go with for now.
Yo, I can't imagine being part of a community that doesn't like what they're being called because it was imposed on them. Like, I absolutely understand why you don't like it, but yet you're forced to identify. identify, use that loosely, as that term because there's no other. Wow, that's heavy. That's very heavy. Jeez. Sorry,
Imagine trying to find pride, like to try and be proud of something like that, to try and find the beauty in a history that is so painful. I mean,
yeah,
for most of my family, some of my family members don't like. A lot of them don't even know the history of the Griqua. They don't identify as being Griqua because our people, the Griqua established a town. So Griqua, Stad, Kokstad, those were towns that were functioning. They had magistrates, they had their own flag, their own currency, and then they were annexed by the British. So imagine you set up your entire town and you've got your lawyers, your magistrates, your bank, and then the British come in and say, okay, hi, we own it now.
yeah,
So that kind of pain that they went through for years made people detach from the history a lot, and they want to acknowledge the pain because for me, even sometimes when I read things and when I research, I do take long breaks between it because it affects you mentally and emotionally to be surrounded with so much trauma and pain, and it affects you in many different ways when the people, their names are familiar to you, or you can piece that this is part of your family that has been robbed in such a terrible way.
yeah. No, absolutely. Like I said, the history of the Koisan slash colored people reminds me a lot of the history of like we mentioned before, the Aborigines and Native Americans. And again, I really hope that whether it's the ANC or another government, whatever government, just recognizes that the Khoisan are the First Nation, because there's no doubt in my mind they absolutely deserve to be. Um, it's something for me that, like, again, I was taught in school. I remember being taught in school about social studies and learning about the Indians, and even in those books, they were saying like, oh, the stuff that the Indians went through was horrible, absolutely horrible. The deaths, the this, the that, oh, the history was just horrible. And yet here we are. Okay, fine, it's a different country, but here we are, and it feels like history is repeating itself. And that's actually what really frustrates me. It really frustrates me because those people that you spoke about earlier, that gaslight, are the same ones that probably last year were saying, no, we need to recognize these people and they need to have their own voice. But now all of a sudden they're like, no, you must just be happy with what you are, or what we've given you almost, and that's insulting.
Yeah, it is. It's a learning curve, especially when you're on the front line. You sometimes you just have to swallow your words. You can't be on the attack mode all the time. You still have to stay strong to your message so that you can remain relevant and impactful,
Yeah,
and hopefully inspire those that don't know who they are yet to look into their family, try and find who they are, regain that self-worth and pride. I mean, as a people, you are only as strong as the culture and the heritage that you carry. And for us now, the first prize would be to have the languages restored as well as the cultures being taught in schools. That way, you feel like you've got an identity. There's something you can hold on to. Because at the moment we feel like we are pie in the sky and we're trying to get people to just acknowledge us, and government has not made that easy at
yeah.
all. They completely ignoring us. They've come back now to tell our traditional leaders that it's going to take them another 5 years to look into our situation after they've taken so many years already.
It's just like what they do to the backyard dwellers.
Yeah.
Um, it's exactly what they do. Just keep on telling them, "Oh, another 5 years. Oh, we lost your papers. Oh, we did this. Oh, sorry, this happened." It's just this is why I keep on telling people the ANC is not your friend. The ANC doesn't give a damn about South Africans. I'm sorry, but they don't. And the sooner people realize that, hopefully, the sooner we'll see a lot more change in South Africa. Um, I noticed that we're nearing the hour already. It's almost up. But I
I've
just
been
wanted.
passing fast.
I know. Look, I'll happily have you back on if there's another story to talk about with the Koisan. I do want to raise awareness about the people, and I'll do some research of my own. We can have another chat about it, so on and so forth. I just want to ask you, is there anything important that you want to tell people before we end? Like something about maybe the history, anything like that that you feel you want to let people know about?
I would like for people to embrace the Khoisan people. A lot of you, they don't know who we are. They see pictures of people that are in the bush or whatever, but they've never really engaged with the nature that we have. We are extremely loving people and people that they love to poke fun. If you would have the time and just to engage our history, you can find our stuff at the Slave Lodge in Cape Town. Some of our stuff is at the Castle of Good Hope. In fact, there's a lot there. The Camisa Museum has been set up quite nicely with a lot of the stuff, and it talks about specifically the peopling of the Western Cape, because this is where things get tricky, is where it's the understanding of the peopling of the Western Cape, and that although the Khoisan were here, the peopling comes from like 196 different origins, and it's to get your head around that. So what I would definitely want to encourage people is start to engage with the history and getting your head around certain nuances, because I've seen on TikTok there's another fight with regards to the true Afrikaners. We'll get to that on another day because that's a heavy one. Where an entire identity of people, a group of people, also within the Khoisan, has been stolen. So there's a lot to unpack. So in order to engage in the conversation and understand it, doing your own research and engaging with it is definitely a starting point.
Well, that topic about the Afrikaners is something I would definitely love to have you back on the show and chat about sometime in the near future. I Can you give us a bit of a teaser as to like a synopsis of what that is all about?
Okay. Do you want controversy? The Afrikaans people are not Afrikaners. They are not the real
Oh,
Afrikaners.
okay. Okay. I think I know that. Yes, I have heard
Yes,
that argument before on social media. Whew.
yes.
Okay, that one.
That one riles them up.
um, yeah, it's that one's gonna be. I'll have the discussion. Um, because I believe in having these discussions. I mean, we need to have these discussions. It needs to be out there. I'm not saying you're right. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying I'm wrong. But discussions need to be had. If it upsets people, it gets people talking, and that's at the end of the day what you want. So thank you so much, Charné, for coming onto the show and giving me an hour of your time. I'm really sorry about the postponement after postponement after postponement.
It's not your fault. We blame ESCOM.
Yeah. But you're lovely, and thank you so much for coming onto the show. Yeah, maybe one day we'll meet for a cup of coffee in real life, take a quick TikTok video. That'd be fun.
That'll be fun.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, what is next for Charné? What can people? Why should people follow you on TikTok and Twitter?
Ooh, do you think I should tell my enemies what I'm up to?
Fair enough, ladies and gentlemen. Once
Guys,
again,
there's a lot. At the moment, I am looking into a lot of other, a little bit more social development kind of stuff. I'm trying to just move away from the dark side for a bit. Maybe working and looking at the little community gardens that we've got going and other little upliftment, and just focusing on the people that are doing good within the Khoisan community. I'd like to highlight them and just raise awareness to their causes that they are doing. So that's my new mission.
awesome. Sounds great, and I look forward to seeing the content on TikTok. I really do enjoy your videos. Keep up the good work. All right. Well, that's it, Charné. That's pretty much the hour is pretty much done. So thank you once again for your time, and thank you for coming onto the show.
Most welcome. Thank you.
All right. Cheers, Charné.
Okay.
I'll chat to you soon.
Yes.
Bye.
Chat soon. Bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Charné Kreeling. I do believe I got the name right. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in, and all the comments that came through. Grayling saying this is so damn interesting, great discussion. Thank you so much. Hindu saying he would like to see a follow-up live stream. We're definitely gonna have that. Home of Justice Advocate saying thanks, Joe, for raising awareness of my people, and we need more like your channel. It's I chat about everything on this channel, and I am deeply fascinated by the Koisan and colored people. I've been wanting to have someone like Charné on this show for a very long time to talk about the history, but we're definitely going to have a follow-up. Yeah, the topic of Afrikaners not really being Afrikaners. I know already there's going to be a lot of people that are not going to like that I said that, but hey, I'm just going to have the discussion. Let's see, because as far as I am concerned, Afrikaners are Afrikaners. But I am open to discussion about why they wouldn't be, and hearing what people have to say. That doesn't mean that I'm going to be swayed in my opinion, or I don't think it's opinion, but anyway. But I think it's an interesting conversation to be had, and I like interesting conversations. I might pull in my friend Mikhail, who is a really devoted Afrikaner, to weigh in as well, which would be very interesting. But we'll see. We'll see. For now, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this stream, please share it. Please like and tell people about it. I think it was a very interesting conversation. Charné's really awesome. Once again, her link to her TikTok is in the description below. It's very interesting stuff about the Koisan people, so please check it out. And I hope this was entertaining as well as interesting for you guys. Once again, sorry about the mix-up in times. Load shedding, I only got power back at 8:30. So I had to push the show to 9. Sorry that I forgot to change the time. And tomorrow there's no stream. Thursday, there is a chance that there won't be a stream, because as far as I can tell, there might be load shedding again. So look out for it on my channel. I don't know yet, but we'll see. And yeah, unfortunately, because of load shedding at the moment, my schedule's just all over the place. Don't forget that I also did an interview with Barry Hilton this morning. So that's already up on my channel as well. Go check it out. It's a lot of fun having Barry on the show, ladies and gentlemen, who's also directing my one-man show, just saying. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it from me. Enjoy. If I don't see you on Thursday, enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Be kind to one another. And I'll see you at the next one. Oh, and also, if you really enjoyed it, drop a super thanks, which you can do after I'm done being live. Thank you. Cheers. Chat to you later. I kind of screwed up my outro there. Stay safe, be kind to one another, and I'll see you at the next one. Cheers.